For centuries, the Nile has bound nations together. Its waters gave life to empires, cities, and dreams. But today, that same river tells two very different stories, one of loud diplomacy and another of quiet determination. The Nile's politics are not new. Colonial treaties once gave Egypt near total control over the river. Agreements written without Ethiopia or Sudan at the table. Those papers defined water as power, and for decades that power remained unquestioned. Until one day, the upstream nation decided to change the script. The Nile is not just water, it's identity, it's life. And any change upstream feels like a threat downstream. But 1,000 kilometers south, the atmosphere is different. No breaking headlines, no loud declarations, just the quiet hum of turbines spinning. Since its inauguration, Ethiopia's dam stands tall, the reservoir calm, the spillway steady, and electricity lighting new towns. While Egypt voices concern, Ethiopia moves, one project, one milestone at a time. The GERD is only the beginning. With each turbine that comes online, Ethiopia steps closer to its goal of powering its industries, exporting energy across borders, and becoming a hub of clean electricity in Africa. The story of GERD is not just about water, it's about transformation. Between these two nations lies Sudan, a land rich in soil but fragile in stability. Recent floods have once again reminded Sudan of its geographical dilemma. Its old dams, some dating back decades, were never built to handle such massive seasonal flows. With turbines malfunctioning and reservoirs filled with silt, Sudan struggles to balance the waters rushing from both the blue and white Nile. Was GERD to blame for the floods? Satellite data and rainfall reports tell a different story. Heavy rains across Uganda and the Ethiopian highlands have swollen the White Nile far beyond its usual levels. Ethiopia released only what its reservoir could not hold, exactly what a dam is designed to do: regulate, not destroy. Every dam has a purpose: to store excess water during the rains and release it slowly in the dry season. Without GERD, the sudden rainfall of this year might have brought even worse flooding downstream. Dams are not walls against nature. They are regulators, balancing the extremes. This year's unusual weather tested that balance, and for the first time, the GERD stood as a stabilizer in the storm. In Cairo's corridors of power, every rainfall upstream turns into a press statement. Egypt continues to call for international mediation to frame the dam as a continental threat rather than a regional opportunity. But diplomacy without cooperation is a circle that leads back to the same question: who controls the Nile's future? At the United Nations Security Council, Egyptian representatives raise their microphones and repeat the same concern.
The Ethiopian dam represents a unilateral measure devoid of any legal legitimacy, and Egypt stresses that despite all the flimsy efforts to give the Ethiopian dam a false veneer of acceptance and legitimacy, the dam remains a unilateral measure that violates international law and norms.
Across the table, Ethiopia's delegate calmly responds, "The Renaissance Dam is a symbol of development, not destruction."
Egypt has once again made additional baseless allegations against my country, most of which are refuted by Ethiopia's previous statements and replies before this August Assembly. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is complete, and it was inaugurated on September 9th this year. This is a fact. The dam is generating electricity. It has brought immense satisfaction for Ethiopians, people of the Nile River Basin, Africans across who aspire the continent's development and prosperity, unlike what the Egyptian delegate falsely described in his intervention just now.
We are lighting homes, not darkening hearts. The hall fills with murmurs, papers shuffle, and the world watches two civilizations argue over one river that could unite them both. For Egypt, the battle is as much about global perception as it is about water. Each headline shapes sympathy, each speech aims to cast the dam as a ticking threat. But outside the chambers of diplomacy, the river still flows, unbothered, unpolitical, eternal. While Egypt argues, Ethiopia builds. Beyond the Renaissance Dam, new projects are rising: a national fertilizer plant, natural gas development, and an expanding aviation empire, already Africa's largest. Add to that the country's emerging nuclear ambitions. These are not isolated projects. They form a blueprint of self-reliance, powered by clean energy and youthful ambition. Ethiopia's 130 million people, more than half of them under 30, see the dam as more than a dam. It's a symbol of what's possible when a nation believes in its own capacity. While older nations talk of survival, Ethiopia's new generation talks of innovation. That difference in tone shapes everything that follows. Sudan, caught between two powers, faces a choice: to join hands with its northern ally or trust in the promise of stability to the south. Its dams, aged, strained and underperforming, tell their own story. Without modernization, even the flow of hope will one day overflow the barriers of neglect. From Khartoum to Kampala, the Nile's politics are shifting. Neighboring countries are watching quietly, measuring where opportunity lies. Some see Ethiopia's model of energy-driven growth as a path to follow.
Ethiopia supplies electricity to Kenya, Sudan, Djibouti, of course not Somalia yet.
Others fear the loss of old alliances. The river flows and so does influence. Beyond borders and speeches lies the real issue: the economics of water. Electricity, agriculture, irrigation and export all depend on how this river is shared. The Renaissance Dam's power potential could light up industries across East Africa, turning one of the world's poorest regions into a corridor of productivity. Each year brings a new round of talks. Each meeting ends with more promises and more doubts. Egypt demands guarantees. Ethiopia insists on sovereignty. Both sides claim victory, but the dam keeps spinning. The turbines hum louder than any speech. Silence versus sound, two strategies unfolding on the same river. For Sudan, neutrality is not an option forever. Whether it aligns with Cairo's caution or Addis Abeba's optimism, its survival depends on modernizing its water systems. The future of the Nile will reward preparation, not hesitation. The Nile has never belonged to one nation. It belongs to time. Empires have risen and fallen along its banks, but the river endures, reminding all that cooperation is stronger than control. If the Renaissance Dam represents the future, then dialogue must represent wisdom. Egypt speaks of threats, Ethiopia speaks of progress, Sudan stands between the echoes. The contrast has never been clearer. But beyond politics, one truth remains. The Nile will keep flowing, and history will remember who chose to build bridges instead of barriers. The Nile has carried civilizations for thousands of years, and now it carries a new kind of power. From the highlands of Ethiopia to the delta of Egypt, the Great Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is more than concrete and steel. It's a symbol of hope, pride, and challenge. The debates continue, the politics evolve, but one thing remains unchanged. The river keeps flowing, connecting people, stories, and destinies. As we look toward the future, one truth becomes clear. The Nile does not belong to one nation. It belongs to all who depend on it. And that's what makes the story of the Renaissance Dam still being written.